Sul Earthlings, Dr. Rank here, and welcome to Gaming Legends, the show that can't spell simple without SIM. The Sims series is the largest and most accurate life simulation franchise in human history. Mind you, that's not saying much. But when real life is so expensive, why would I want to simulate that expense? Can you beat The Sims 4 without spending money? When starting a new game, you're given a starting balance of 20,000 simoleons, and for this run, that number is never allowed to decrease for any reason. The sole exception to this is buying a house at the start of the game so we can move in and actually start playing. If we ever do pay for something, we must reload a prior save and try again. Of course, any objective we assign would have to be, well, objective, which is very difficult to do in life simulators. Fortunately, I have a solution. When creating a sim, you can give them an aspiration, a 4-part series of life goals the sim can work towards. Our ultimate goal is to have any sim fully complete any singular aspiration without spending a single simoleon. And finally, only content found in the base game is allowed because anything else would cost money. The first thing we need to do is decide what aspiration our sim will have so that we can mold their personality and our strategy around it. Of the 25 aspirations available in the base game, 10 of them are impossible with a budget of 0, and 1 is only half possible. Successful lineage and big happy family not only require you to raise a child, which is pretty costly in itself, but they also straight up force you to buy a bunch of toys for our non-existent offspring. Similarly, Mansion Baron requires the purchase of $5,000 in landscaping and 20 columns, though good luck getting a penthouse with no money down anyway. Jokestar and Chief of Mischief require the ownership of a microphone and the use of a voodoo doll respectively, both of which can only be summoned into the game world by purchasing them. We're also unable to cook, mix drinks, paint, throw parties, or use woodworking tables without spending money, eliminating Master Chef, Master Mixologist, Painter Extraordinaire, Party Animal, and Nerd Brain. Weddings aren't exactly cheap either, so it may seem like Soulmate is off the table, but you can skip the wedding either by having the couple choose to elope, or by making a pre-existing spouse at the start of the game. However, I decided that a single sim household would be more interesting and easier to micromanage, so I didn't go for Soulmate. That leaves us with 14 semi-viable aspirations to choose from. If you want to try this run yourself, I recommend going for either Public Enemy or Renaissance Sim, as their requirements are the easiest to fulfill. For my run though, I went with Computer Whiz, which sits right in the Goldilocks zone of difficulty. So, without further ado, let me introduce our protagonist, Penelope Pincher, Penny for short. She's a fast-learning, genius kleptomaniac glutton who likes programming and hates cooking. I chose these traits to give us the maximum chance of success, the reasons for which will become apparent as we go. Our first tasks as a computer whiz are to practice programming and play video games for a total of 5 sim hours each. The latter could easily be done on the Sims phone, which apparently has the infinite free data plan. The former, however, specifically requires us to use a computer, which is not one of the items included with a pre-furnished house. Fortunately, it doesn't necessarily have to be your computer. Say hello to our dominant strategy, mooching. The Willow Creek Archive is a library that's open 24/7 and has several computers we can use for free, letting us practice programming to our heart's content. Of course, there is such a thing as too much screen time. These meters represent Penny's physical and mental needs that we have to manage. The most critical one is hunger, as it's the only need that can be directly fatal for the sim if neglected. Hunger can be replenished by eating food, but getting that food in the first place is the hard part. Using an oven or grill to cook always costs money, which is why I sold my oven right at the start to prevent Penny from cooking on her own. But we're not completely starved. Any quick meal option from the fridge can be selected for free an unlimited number of times. There's nothing stopping you from living off cereal 3 meals a day, just like I do in real life. You can also get free chips at the nightclub bar, though this comes with the risk of the sim autonomously ordering a drink. Sims with the glutton trait have even more options. While they do get hungrier at a faster rate than usual, they're less picky about what they eat, scoffing down spoiled food and even literal garbage without hesitation. Sprinkle in some showers, sleeps, bathroom breaks, and chats with the neighbours, and we can keep Penny satisfied long enough to complete Stage 1 of our aspiration. Stage 2 has 3 requirements. The first is to play video games for 2 hours straight while the sim is in a focused mood. All sims can focus by using the chessboard at the library, but genius sims like Penny can become focused for no reason at completely random moments. The second requirement is to raise Penny's programming skill to level 3, which we can work towards by using any computer interaction that involves programming. Plus, the more we level up this skill, the more things we can do with computers. The third requirement, however, is what makes this aspiration so difficult. Own 3,000 simoleons worth of electronics. The TV we get with our house is a good start, but it only gets us a sixth of the way there. But take a closer look at the wording of the task. It only says we have to own the stuff, it never says we have to buy it. Penny has the kleptomaniac trait, giving her the option to swipe objects from other households. As long as there aren't any witnesses to the theft, we can place the item in our own house with no consequences. However, only items with screens or speakers count as electronics, and none of those items possess the swipe interaction. Fortunately, kleptos have a random chance of stealing something from work at the end of their shift, and Penny is employed as a tech guru. During her first week, she managed to make off with an 800 simoleon computer and 2,000 simoleon tablets. Don't ask me how she could fit them in her pockets. They won't officially count as owned unless they're both physically on your property and have been in the household inventory at least once. It took me a while to figure that out, but once I did, it was a very satisfying Friday night. This strategy can also be used to get workout equipment for the bodybuilder aspiration, but not the microphone for Jokestar. Stage 3 of Computer Wiz has a very simple to-do list. We've already become an adult, so all we have to do is reach level 3 of the Tech Guru career and make at least one video game or mobile app. Climbing up the corporate ladder requires us to raise our programming and video gaming skills to the appropriate levels, as well as finishing a shift with excellent job performance. This does take a while to achieve, but it is easily doable. And the ability to make mobile apps is unlocked once Penny reaches programming level 7, but by noon on Saturday she was only at level 4. Plus, it seems all those quick meals are starting to take their non-financial toll. In addition to the purely cosmetic side effect of weight gain, Penny has received the unbalanced meals moodlet, making her uncomfortable and thus less productive until she gets some quote-unquote real food into her. So I decided to have her visit the BFF household for some social time with her friends, during which Liberty Lee decided to grill some elotes for dinner, which made her feel much better. But that wouldn't last forever. On Monday morning of week 2, Penny received her first bill in the mail. If we don't pay this bill within 24 hours, i.e. by Tuesday, the house's electricity gets cut off, rendering the TV and computer unusable. Weirdly though, the fridge is completely unaffected. Once Tuesday rolls around, we have to go back to using the library computers for our programming needs. On Wednesday, just as the toilet had sprung a leak, the water got shut off as well. This means we can no longer use the shower to replenish Penny's hygiene need, instead needing to use the shower at the gym. By Saturday, I'd managed to build Penny's programming skill up to level 6, but then Calamity arrived. Our bills are now 5 days overdue, which means we have a visit from Stanley Cower, aka the Repo Man. Penny's utilities are back on, but at the cost of her TV and her bed, and the cycle will repeat itself every single week hereafter. The loss of Penny's bed is a problem because sleep is the primary method of refilling a sim's energy need. If the energy runs empty, the sim will pass out from exhaustion, which isn't inherently fatal, but still isn't ideal. We can still take a nap on the couch to recover energy, but it's not nearly as effective. If Penny had the lazy trait, she might have been able to have more restful naps, but alas, there weren't enough trait slots for that. On the bright side, now that Penny has her electricity back, she can use her own computer again, allowing her to reach programming level 7 that same night. At last, she can make the mobile app she always dreamed of Gold Flush. But as she was working on it the next morning, disaster struck. The good news is she managed to finish enough of the app for the aspiration to complete stage 3. The bad news is her computer's busted and the final stage requires 100 hours of computer time in addition to reaching level 5 of the Tech Guru career. Penny could try fixing the computer herself, but at only level 1 handiness she's liable to get herself electrocuted to death. Luckily, she's got plenty of satisfaction points stocked up, which are a separate currency from simoleons, and I used some a few days ago to unlock the free services ability. While hiring a repair service normally costs 100 simoleons, this ability reduces that cost to 0. This also applies to pizza delivery, letting you get a free pepperoni as long as you still have electricity. Uber Eats orders, however, will still cost money for the food itself. And speaking of satisfaction points, I used more of them to unlock Always Welcome, meaning we can take over someone else's bed for the night to recharge our energy properly, and they won't complain. After becoming a level 5 tech guru, we no longer have any need for employment. If we choose to have Penny quit her job, she'll be able to grind up the screen time much faster. And if her social need is low, chatting online can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. On Wednesday of week 3, following a sleepover at House BFF, Summer Holiday had started preparing some eggs and toast, but left the cutting board on the coffee table to do something else. Since money is only spent when getting the ingredients out of the fridge, Penny can resume this cooking without making a dent in her wallet. However, I specifically set cooking as an activity that Penny dislikes when creating her, and she has literally 0 skill with it. Literally 5 minutes after she started, the oven caught fire and Penny with it. Thankfully, I was able to extinguish the fire immediately and managed to avoid burning to death.
Good news, everyone! I'm still technically alive, yes.
After showering off all the soot, I decided to let Penny play some Sims Forever on the computer, both to build up screen time and to relieve the tension. Travis eventually kicked her off, but she needed the bathroom anyway. By Thursday, Penny had accrued 90 hours of screen time, but I decided to go back to the library for more uninterrupted computer use. That backfired immediately as the computer Penny was using received the blue screen of death and she had to move to a different one. Then on Friday, with 95 hours on the clock, she managed to break the BFF computer as well. I think we might have a lead on the identity of the colorblind programmer that's been plaguing this channel. But with one final visit to the library, Penny Pincher reached her 100th hour at 4:16 PM on Friday of week 3, meaning she has accomplished her computer whiz aspiration. The Sims 4 zero budget run is officially conquered. If you'd like to try this run yourself, I highly recommend it. Not being able to spend money completely changes how you play the game. And if you'd like to try a different aspiration, I've made a spreadsheet of every single one with guidelines on how to complete them. You can find a link to this spreadsheet along with the archive footage of my run in the description. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next challenge run. Dag dag for now, and I will see you down under.